Hello and welcome to a new episode of Underground, where we take a social media tour around the globe to detect users' reactions to events. I'm Muntaha Mu'adhin. In today's show, a Qatari journalist slammed online for humiliating Egyptians in a newspaper article. The uncontrolled and shocking social media reaction to Margaret Thatcher's death. Cyber war starts in Korean peninsula after false tweets on missile launch. And finally, social media find a place in school problems in the United States. We're starting today's show out of Qatar, where Qatari journalist Ahmed Ali, who is a member of the board of directors of the Qatari paper Al-Watan, found himself subjected to sharp online criticism from hundreds of activists to respond to what came in an article written by him about Egypt, when he said that Egypt did not succeed in anything except in the industry of cooking falafel, which is a cultural Egyptian meal. One online response is a Facebook page launched under the title "Campaign for Making Disc of Falafel Larger Than the Size of Qatar." Another was an established hashtag on Twitter under the name Qatari Journalist, used by activists to tweet their responses to what came in the article. Some tweets: "Look at Qatari rulers, your current prince toppled his dad in order to rule, and the latter himself toppled his cousin before to rule too." Others criticized Qatar's loyalty to the United States, and things went further after the Qatari journalist used his Twitter account to tweet back and wrote, "We might bow to America, but we never allow it to crush us, as it does to you with its conditional financial aid." And about the U.S. military base in Qatar, he replied, "There is an American base in Japan, also in Germany and Korea, where your cell phone might be manufactured. But did you achieve anything other than cooking falafel?" After this, a campaign of angry and sarcastic comments on social media, the Qatari journalist found himself forced to close his personal Twitter account. Another lead for today comes out of the United States, where a campaign for mobilizing against war and occupation Mao movement was launched online to call to action against U.S. drones, occupation, and foreign troops around the world. Mao is organizing an anti-war rally and petition campaign during the month of April. Their first action on April 3rd was posted online. Learn more in this video posted on Mao YouTube channel.
Picketers are getting ready to take to the streets here in downtown Vancouver. Their goal is to try and get the attention of the U.S. consulate, marking the 10-year anniversary of the U.S.-led invasion of Iraq.
When I say U.S., you say out now, U.S. Out now, U.S. Out now.
Tamara Hansen, organizer with Mobilization Against War and Occupation, or MAWO, says the collective effort taken by the protesters is not only about raising awareness, but also to encourage change.
We're here in order to make our voices heard against the U.S. government and make sure that we are able to mobilize and stop future wars, potentially against Iran or more direct U.S. involvement in Syria.
David Whittlesey, member of MAWO, says even if the message behind the protest is not heard, it's still very important to be involved.
The thing that really is important is to understand that even if you don't succeed, at least you did something. And that's it. That's the key to the whole thing. So you keep going and you keep fighting even though you lose, because you do the right thing.
Hansen says the protests are also in support of Bradley Manning, a U.S. Army soldier who reportedly exposed crimes committed by the U.S. in Iraq and Afghanistan and is now in prison.
We think he did a very important job exposing war crimes in Iraq and Afghanistan. So we're here for quite a few different issues, and really I think we had a good opportunity to raise our voices, to come together, and to make ourselves heard.
Hansen says the Mao group will continue to take action against future wars led by the U.S.
Now moving on to the UK, where this week marked the death of Britain's first female Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. Now, with all the controversy that surrounds her 11 years in power, it is no surprise that social media reaction to her death was polarized. On Twitter, using the hashtags Iron Lady, Legend, Falklands, people expressed their sorrow and sadness. One tweeted, "To Lady Margaret Thatcher, rest in peace, a model for leaders anywhere, men or women. She was tough, smart and graceful, and to my memory always cared about what was right rather than what might be fair." Another added, "Margaret Thatcher will always be a part of history." Also, politicians like Canadian MP Michelle Rempel considered Thatcher as her role model and posted on her official Twitter account, "Lady Thatcher was the reason I chose to pursue this field of work." As estimates placed the number of Twitter reactions to her death at 1.5 million hashtags like "Now Thatcher is dead," "No state funeral," "We're gonna have a party," among others, went beyond the traditional taboo about speaking ill of the dead. Also on YouTube, all the videos and songs that protested Thatcher's policies were pulled back and repeatedly shared on social media, with ratings scored the highest among other videos. We have this clip of Liverpool fans chanting one of these songs. Take a look. In all these mounting reactions, what we perhaps didn't foresee was the police presence on social media. Yes, the British police have been sourcing internet chat rooms and social media networks for any hint of planned demonstrations in the day of Thatcher's funeral. The police were trying to identify individuals who may pose a threat in order to arrest. To talk more about social media role in Margaret Thatcher's death in the UK, we are joined from London via Skype by Mr. Paul Cullinan. He is a political activist from the Social Party in London. Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon.
First, Mr. Cullen, I would like to say that a nationwide reaction was presented to the death of Margaret Thatcher online and via social media especially. I would like to know, did social media or was social media able to revive Thatcher?
Well, it's not able to revive her or her reputation, of course. I think what we're seeing on social media from a lot of young people, from a lot of working class people, is a true reflection of how the majority of people feel about Margaret Thatcher. I think that, you know, she's left a lasting and destructive legacy of unemployment. It was her policies that paved the way for the economic crisis we're seeing today, and a lot of the, like I say, a lot of the negative comments about Margaret Thatcher on social media and elsewhere, of course, are a true reflection of how people actually feel about her and her legacy.
Mm-hmm. But more than 1.5 million tweets were presented online, some of which are positive and others were negative. We cannot deny the fact that some people felt sorry about losing Thatcher, which is the first female prime minister in the UK.
Well, I mean, some people do feel sorry, and it's a natural human response to feel sorry when somebody dies. Of course, there will be comments expressing sympathy with her family and people that are close to her. But I think for the vast majority of people in this country, under Thatcher at the time she was Prime Minister, and since her legacy has been wholly destructive. She destroyed trade union organisation in this country. She presided over a growth of mass unemployment. And actually, you raised the point that she was the first female Prime Minister for this country, but actually she did very little for women. She only had one other woman in her cabinet, and as a result of her cuts to jobs and services, many working class women, most working class women in this country.
But here, Mr. What do you say about the 1.5 million reactions, the number? What does it hint to?
Well, I think obviously it is a kind of demonstration of the impact that she had on people's lives, that there were that many responses about her when she died. And actually what it does show is that what she did didn't just have an impact on people that were around at the time on social media. It's largely young people that are posting, and actually her policies have had consequences for young people in generations since she was actually in power. As I said, young people are feeling but
do you think that the real Margaret Thatcher was presented online? Do you see that?
Well, she was, and she wasn't. As you said, there were negative comments. There were positive comments about her. I would say that her legacy and what she presided over was wholly negative. She was representative of the most vicious, the most nasty aspects of a capitalist system. She attacked trade unionists. She attacked working class communities.
So do you think that her death was a chance for social media to express this kind of like bad emotions and feelings that people were having towards her, even though that we know that she existed in a time before social media was really used on the internet?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear you there.
Okay, so I repeat the question. I mean, do you think that social media presented the real Margaret Thatcher in a way that it introduced her to the new generation because she was presented in a time before social media was there?
I don't think it really introduced her to a new generation. I think it perhaps gave people more of a chance to express how they felt about her. But I think that, generations since Thatcher were in power are still feeling the consequences of her time in power. Of course, her neoliberal ideas have lived on in the Labour Party since her time in power, and in today's Condemn coalition. And that ideology is one of attacks on public services, is one of attacks on jobs in the public sector, young people particularly.
But Mr. Paul, what do you say about that tradition which used to say do not or never to speak ill of the dead? Don't you think that social media went beyond maybe humanity in this thing?
Well, no, I don't think that this idea that you should never speak ill of the dead necessarily holds, particularly in the case of someone who had the stature of Margaret Thatcher and did the things that Margaret Thatcher did. I think that her death should be a time to make an honest assessment of what she did to people in this country, and particularly for working class people. For the
my last question to you, Mr. Paul Cullen, is what about the monitoring that police did to social media before her funeral?
Well, I think that that's a provocation. Certainly the Socialist Party has no plans to disrupt her service. Most of the people that have taken part in the protests since her death have any plans to actually disrupt the funeral service. But I think people are well within their rights to hold protests around the country in order to counter the absolute deluge of kind of people eulogising and putting a rose-tinted gloss on what she did.
Okay.
I think that the protests are important, and I think what the police are doing at the moment certainly is a provocation.
Okay, sure. Mr. Paul Cullen, you are a political activist from Social Party of England. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
When there's a political fraud, we will act. When there is greed and corruption, we will act.
When there are voices that are being silenced, we will act. Direct act. We're acting.
Direct act, where actions really matter.
Direct act, where actions really matter.
Welcome back. Now, North Korea threats of war to the United States, the topic which has been largely discussed and tackled, seems to worry Americans. Questions have been asked about the possibility of the attack as well as the threat that Korea might pose to the U.S. North Korea explained in this YouTube video.
John, that is if the world still exists. If the world does not exist anymore, then bad morning, John. Very bad morning. But assuming that the world has not been destroyed by the kind of crazy that would be hilarious if it wasn't so freaking terrible, let's see what the world wants to know about North Korea using our old friend, Google Autocomplete. Is North Korea going to bomb us? Well, that depends first on who the us in question is. If us is me, then no, because their missiles can't reach me, which is nice for me. But if the us is everyone who's not inside North Korea, which I really kind of feel like it should be, then, well, if you're in South Korea or Japan or even Guam, they could, but they almost certainly will not. North Korea is a huge fan of the crazy threat. They've been using them for over 50 years, and though these are kind of really extra crazy, it's pretty normal. So why, you may be asking, the uptick in the crazy? A bunch of reasons, actually. Number one, recent UN sanctions against North Korea are pissing them off, especially because China, who is literally North Korea's only ally, is supporting them. Two, South Korea just got a new president, and every time South Korea gets a new president, North Korea tests that president by being crazy at them. Three, every year the US and South Korea do some joint military exercises, and as always increases the rhetoric that North Korea starts to spew. And finally, number four, no one knows how North Korea works at all. Like, there's just nobody knows how the internal political structure of Pyongyang works. And so there may be some internal political reason for this, and we will never know. Is North Korea a threat? Yes, unfortunately. First, because, yeah, they've got nuclear weapons and they're probably the only state on Earth left that's crazy enough to use. Is North Korea communist? No, not really. I mean, it says it right in the title. They're a democracy, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. And they can vote. Actually, there's only one candidate on the ballot. Why does North Korea hate the U.S.? Well, first, because we supported South Korea in the Korean War, which defines North Korea, basically. This is a complicated story, and I don't have time to get into it, but we remain South Korea's strongest military ally, and that is reason enough.
Now on the internet, a war has erupted between North Korea and Japan after the official Twitter account of Yokohama City of Japan mistakenly tweeted 40,000 followers that North Korea has launched missile attack on Tokyo. The tweet caused panic among the public. 20 minutes later, the admin of the account created or rephrased the tweet and apologized to followers. Another lead for today comes out of the United States, where much is going in schools in the U.S. We have a YouTube video created by Newark students to protest budget cuts. Take a look.
April 9, 2013, Newark students will walk out. We are marching down to the budget hearing meeting at Rutgers Law School, 123 Washington Street. We are hosted by the Newark Student Union and various Newark organizations. Here's what the students have to say.
Follow the law, stop the cuts.
We are no longer separate schools, we are one united voice. Watching out for the future generations to come. Education is for the students, so let the students speak.
We are trying to stop our clubs from being cut.
Being a freshman, this movement will impact my next 3 years of high school.
The state has to know enough is enough. The budget cuts must stop.
The decisions made at this hearing will not affect just one student, it will affect all students.
The worst feeling at the end will be the feeling of regret. We need to take a stand and make sure we fight enough so that at the end of the day we feel comfortable in saying that we fought whatever the outcome may be.
People are creative. We have another YouTube video for activist Mark Dice, who doesn't seem surprised by this mass stabbing incident. Take a listen.
Americans should really be celebrating the mass stabbing at Lone Star College. I don't know why so many people are surprised or upset about this. And same goes with the mass shootings, the mass murders, Sandy Hook massacre, the Aurora, Colorado theater massacre. Because this is what America wants. They love seeing people being killed. This is just America reaping what it has sowed. We are a disgusting, decadent, satanic empire. Every day, millions of Americans love to watch movies and television shows of people getting murdered, tortured, raped, killed.
What was your first time on a train like? Were you happy, surprised, or shocked? We have this YouTube video of a British child that shows her reaction to seeing a train for the first time in her life. Take a look.
What's coming?
A train!
Are we going to ride the train?
Yeah. Look at how it goes to us. Oh my goodness.
Here it comes.
Here it comes.
Hey, we got to be safe. Stand back. All right, let's get on the train. Okay, step up.
Daddy, let this go slower.
And as I promised you to bring interesting videos from around the world, our digital producer downloaded a video of how to separate the white from the yolk in eggs. Learn this.
So my dad sent me an email a couple of days ago with a link to YouTube, and it was a video in Chinese of how to separate the egg yolk using an empty plastic bottle, and I thought it was just so cool. I had to try it myself and show it to you. We raise chickens. We have 10 chickens right now, and as you can see, the eggs come in all sorts of colors. They taste the same, and they look the same inside, but on the outside the shell looks a little different. But I can tell you exactly which hen laid which egg because they're just so different from each other. Okay, take a regular egg, and I'm going to crack it into a bowl. And use an empty bottle. Make sure it's clean, so wash it out. Squeeze it just a little bit, and position it just right over the yolk. And look, is that so cool or what? No egg white. Well, barely any egg white.
This is all we have on Underground for today. Many thanks for watching. Bye-bye.